It is said that when you don't learn from the past, you're doomed to repeat it.
There's one incident in particular that piqued meteorologist Elena Nearing's interest.
The Carrington event of 1859 might not be the most famous historical occurrence, but if something similar happened today, it could be the most devastating moment in modern times.
Hurricanes, fires, earthquakes. There's no shortage of natural disasters to keep us up at night. And we do our best to prepare for the worst. But our entire way of life could change in a flash if Earth takes a direct hit from one solar flare strong enough to knock out our power grid if we're caught unprepared. Aurora Borealis, otherwise known as the Northern Lights. They're beautiful to look at, but an up-close reminder of a danger that's more than 90 million miles away.
A coronal mass ejection is an ejection of high-energy particles from the surface of the sun.
Our sun, a giant nuclear reactor, sustaining all life, but it's lights out when the solar storm of the century hits Earth.
They're very high-energy particles, and as they interact with other matter, they typically charge that material as well. So that can be our atmosphere, in which case they completely disrupt radio communications. It can be metals, in which case they can build up charges on those metals and create electric discharges. They can even interact with Earth's magnetic field, creating what we call induced currents in the ground, actual materials in the crust that are able to generate a magnetic field themselves, then all of a sudden start to impact things from beneath our feet.
Kinda sounds like a science fiction movie, doesn't it? The scariest part? It's already happened once. English astronomer Richard Carrington recorded his observations in 1859.
On the 1st of September, Carrington noticed a couple of extremely bright patches in a sunspot group of an intensity he had never seen before. We were hit by a massive coronal mass ejection. Now this is a blast, an absolute shotgun blast of stripped down particulate matters and anything the sun could throw at us. And all over the world, for nights, there were auroral displays that had not been seen in decades. Aurora was seen in Senegal, in Cuba, and in the northern part of Australia.
Unfortunately for us, not much has changed since the 1800s, and Senator Gary Peters is raising the alarm.
Basically, our space weather forecasting abilities are equal to our hurricane forecasting abilities in the 1930s. It's not a question of if this will happen, it is just when.
Power outages might seem like an inconvenience when they last for a few days. Imagine what life would be like if it were gone indefinitely.
The doomsday scenario. Let's say, for example, we have one of the chart-toppingest CMEs we've ever recorded, along the lines of the fabled 1859 Carrington event. Say we don't know about it, which could happen if, for example, it takes out the satellites that we currently have monitoring the situation. People who are relying on TV for their communication may not have it. How do people get the word? I don't know. So you're going to have probably half the population without power for an unknown period of time, because if transformers blow everywhere, we'd have to build all the new transformers.
Senator Peters has introduced legislation that aims to protect and prepare.
Bring different agencies together to put together a comprehensive plan to better forecast space weather events. If there is a major space weather event coming towards us, someone is going to have to make the call to do some preventative measures, and that may be something as dramatic as shutting down the electric grid. And when you're asking a number of different private companies to shut down the grid, you better have the policies in place, you better have someone who has the authority to do it, and it better be based on good, solid science.
This isn't meant to scare you, it's meant to spur you into action. I urge you to educate yourself and make your voice heard. I'm meteorologist Elena Nearing for WZZM 13 News.
And we have a link to that entire space weather bill on our website, WZZM13.com.